Hello and welcome. Today we're going to take a look at Aurelia 2 routing. Aurelia 2 will support route configuration similar to the one in version 1, but it will also support a set of new routing features, and we're going to take a look at some of those new features today. Okay, let's start. As you can see, I'm using Visual Studio Code, and I've also got Node.js installed. With Node.js comes npm and npx, and npx is what we're going to use to create our app. Aurelia 2 isn't even in alpha yet, but we can still play around with it. And one way to do that is to use the AU2 CLI. Aurelia 2 will get a proper CLI eventually, but this will do for now. So I'll just use npx AU2 new and just type in my app. This will eventually run makes, which is a scaffolding tool that contains a couple of AU2 options. For this time, the default typescript will do perfectly fine. I'm going to cancel out of this, however, because I've already done that, and what it will do is scaffold the project and then download and install the npm files that comes with it, npm packages. But since I've already done that, included in the installation, to save some time, I'm going to go into it immediately. And I'm just going to open the folder here that I created. And there it is. Let's close that off. So this is the project that's been scaffolded. There's nothing strange. I haven't done anything to it yet, except for installing the npm packages. So we can see that we've got some package information here for npm, and we're running TypeScript and Webpack. We also have the index file, which basically just fires off our application. And that's it. Apart from that, we've got a test folder that we're not really going to look into at all. And here's what we're going to be looking at today: the source src folder. There's one file we can discard for now. It's the resource that is the TypeScript type file. That's used to support the conventions. So what we're going to be working with is these three files, which are app, component, custom element. I use those interchangeably because they're more or less the same in Aurelia. And of course the main file who starts everything up. And we're actually going to start by modifying this because we now know that we're going to use router configuration. And I need to set that up, and that is added by doing register router configuration. Let me clean that one up a bit as well. There you go. So this will now, during startup, register the router configuration according to default parameters. If I wanted to customize something with the router configurations, I would do customize and then a set of parameters. Maybe use href or something like that. Should be set to true. It's now defaulted to false, but we're going to get back to that. But that's what I would use. But I'm going to use just the default. So that's that. And save. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got here. So we got the main app, which basically is just a message. And we got the view model behind it, view model, and also some CSS in it. So, and basically what it does is just write hello world in the view based on the data in the view model. So nothing new there. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to add a welcome custom element. I would then do, let's first create it. Start by saving it, welcome HTML, which is welcome to the Aurelia 2 router routing sneak peek. Is that right? Yeah, okay, that'll do. Exclamation mark. And now, since this is Aurelia, this is now a custom element or a component that we could simply just add by doing welcome. There. So, but maybe before we do that, let's just check out and see that we have a work in progress, a working project. What I've also done is after doing that, I did npx au2 globalize, and this basically just globally installs the au2 CLI so that I can now do au2 immediately without having to npx it. And I can then also do just au2, and I get a list of the scripts. And this is an npm script that starts the npm server, Webpack server. This is the one I want. So I'm going to do au2 start. And let's see if that fires up the browser. It did, but in a different window. Need to wait for it to compile. Bundled finish. There we go. Let's just bring that down a bit so we can have it open and see if we get any build errors. There we have the hello world. Okay, let's just increase that a bit and also increase this a bit. Okay. Right, so now let's add the welcome component, which looks like this. So what's going to happen now, if this is working as it should, we're going to see that nothing really happens. Right? Why doesn't anything happen? Because we need to let this page, this component, know that we have the welcome component where it is. So we need to import it. And this can be done in the HTML temp view, or it could be done in globally, it could be registered globally, or in the view model. But I'm just going to do it here. And since this is an HTML only component, I make sure to specify the file type. Let's just remove that. We don't need that. Here we go. Let's see if we get welcome to the Aurelia 2 routing sneak peek. Okay, so cool. Now we've done that. Let's just say now that instead of running it immediately, we wanted to have a link here that says welcome. And we want that link to display when clicked, to display something here. So we'll add the viewport element, which is the router view equivalent in Aurelia 2. I'll remove this, and now this needs to point to something. So whenever we click this link, we want to navigate or go to, which is the preferred word in Aurelia 2, to welcome. You can use href like you do in H1 and version 1. Then you need to set that as the configuration that I showed you earlier. Use href. Then you can just set that. But go to is the recommendation. So I'll just do this. Compiled successfully. We have a link, and if we click it, and there it is. And yeah, that's it. That's routing. We got the URL, and it's just working. Okay. So let's add an about page, just so that we have two. Is the page about the app? Okay. So we can just close that, I think, and that as well. And now we have two. So welcome and about, and of course I need to import it as well. About, and this import thing here is not a requirement for the routing specifically, but for really as overall. And since we now got a bit of a menu going on here, let's turn this into a nav. There we go. welcome. Okay, compiled and welcome and about. We see it remembers web back. Thank you very much. About and welcome and clearing it. Yep. Okay, so that works. Let's make it look a little bit prettier, just because it's easier for the eyes, basically. This has nothing to do with functionality, but anyway. So I actually grabbed some styling from the Aurelia page. So I'm going to copy paste in here so that we can see. And we're not going to use the message, so I'll just type over that. And let's see how this looks. And we got that lovely Aurelia color from. And also, just to make it a little bit more page-like, let's add a div. That's the footer. There you go. This, just because it's address bar and stuff. It's the footer. And also, I did actually prepare even this, because this is another lovely Aurelia color, isn't it? The purple one. Wouldn't be Aurelia without it. There you go. Howdy, sneak peek. Yeah, okay, so in addition to this, maybe, yeah, let's add some styling to the viewport as well. Let's add a border here. Oh, that's bad. A viewport border. Let's do that light gray. So it's the same as and some padding. Because we can. See, I noticed I did the nav here is a flex thingy, so I'll just add the flex grow here, there, and that won't do much because I need a container for. Let's just stop there and see what happens. Oh, also, if we have an A viewport that's empty, this normally takes care of itself, but let's just to make sure that if it's empty, we're not showing it. There you go. Compiled, and that didn't look good at all. Let's do this. Yeah, and this is something that's the flex grow thing talking. So this is why I had a div. I think this will do it. And also the container then gets a display flex here. Let's do that before. This is not a CSS thingy, but let's see if we can find something that looks somewhat decent. Okay, so that's, yeah, sure. We've got to Aurelia pages here. Okay, so something that we notice immediately that sure this is working, but we're not getting the menu feedback here that we like. So for this, the router is kind enough to when you're using GoTos, it's kind enough to add a class, a CSS class to any anchor links and any elements that has their components displayed, and that class is called GoTo go to active. So when a go-to is active, that class is added. So let's just do that and add the background color light gray. And let's see what happens. And now the about is active and the welcome is active. And if we clear this out, none of them are active. Okay. So routing, more or less without configuration, just some styling and the standard import that's necessary for Aurelia to work with its custom elements. Okay, so what I had in mind was that we're also going to add another option here. And we're going to, the plan was to create a books listing. We'll list some books. So in order to do this, I'm then going to create a books typescript file. I'm going to do a full component custom element here, books HTML, and also books CSS. That's all three of them. And the book is basically just going to be a div class book list, and it repeat for a list of books, book of books that we declare in that one. And this book is going to have a title that we're simply using Aurelia's ordinary. This is ordinary Aurelia templating. So title, and let's also add, since this will have a year, so let's also add the year it was written. And then we'll have div. We'll list the authors, and the authors will, I'm going to show you the service later on. It will be on book. It will be a list of strings containing the author name. So I'll just do book authors, because there can be more than one, join and add. Just make sure we got the commas in between here. Now this will of course not run yet, so let's move that over here and go into this one and public export books. It will, let's do public books. This is our class. It's a list of book. It also public. Yeah, okay. No. Book service, which we're going to implement, and that's of type book service. Yeah, that'll do. Not doing anything for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to utilize the enter method, and this is no enter. Escape, please. And this is what in version 1 is called activate. It's maybe temporarily, but for now it's renamed to enter. It might go back to activate, but at this point in time, when I'm doing this, it's called enter. So this is going to be this book service. Get books. There we go. And now, of course, we're missing. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're missing the book and the book service objects. And I actually prepared this. So let's first take a look at book. See if I can find it. Just going to say that as book TS. This is a plain data object, an ID, and the title and the authors and the year, which matches what we're presenting here. And then there's the book service, which, you know, really should be something calling your API or backend or something. But for now, I'm just going to have a set of data here, which contains the books. And let me just move that, see if you can see a bit better. So just a list of books with title, year, and authors, IDs. That I'm in a very ugly way. I'm sorry you had to see this. I'm just going through the data entries and creating a new object of type book and just forcing it on it there. And then we have the get books method, and eventually we want to get one book. So we take an ID in and see if we can find some. There's very little checks for errors or anything like that. I'm just going to leave that out and focus on the routing parts of it to keep it no longer than necessary. It'll be long anyway, I think. So let's just save that as well. Okay, so next up is that while we have defined them, this class still doesn't know. Oh, I forgot the type class. This doesn't know that these exist, so we need to add those missing imports, book and book service. Yeah, this is a bad typing day, I can tell. There we go. Yeah, that should really have been it. Okay, never mind. That's okay. That's fine. So, okay, let's see. Let's go back to the main app here and add the books. And of course, I need to import it. And this time, I'm not specifying HTML because I need this is a full component. I need everything to the view and view model and styling in the CSS file to stick together. So I'm not specifying a suffix here. I'm just giving the name. Let's see what happens if it builds. And it compile at least. We get the link. And there we have the books. Okay, nice. So this is the list of books. And you can see the link, the URL is updating as it should. This is for, okay, so, and this is I typed out the console log, the list of books here so that we can see that they are actually book objects, instances of the book class. So I'm just going to, because it was really ugly, I want to make sure that, you know, you can see that it actually worked, even though it's, oof. But let's remove that, no proof of that. Okay, so it's gone. Yes, good, cool. So what we want to do now is take a look at the next step. We want to turn the book here into a link so that we can go into a details view of the book. Let's look at the book details. So what I'm doing, I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the HTML here, and we can. So this is going to be an A tag that I call book details, like that. And here's the one of the new parts. If I want to send parameters into this view here to be received in the enter, I'm not using the query syntax, but I'm actually specifying the parameter in here. And of course, interpolation works. So I'm doing book ID. So that will pass this ID from the book service here, this one, into this, and we'll see if that works. And let's just see if there are A links to begin with. Right, okay, so now there are anchor tags, anchor elements, but they're a bit messy style-wise. I think we need to just fix that. I did do the book CSS here. So what we need to do is we need to fix the book list. And I'm gonna go with flex. I'm in a flex period. I'm sorry. And that means if I do that, that's just for it to expand basically. And then we need to set. See, that doesn't really do anything because we need to. Oh, I need to save. That helps. But I also need to make sure that this, because A is it's an inline, and we want it to be a block here, I think. Let's see if that works. Right, almost. Because we'll need to throw it. Well, need is a strong word, but yeah, that should basically have. Let's do this because I want this to. This is bad. I'm adding HTML for semantic purposes, but I do know that I need to for later on because I've done this. In order to make sure that it looks the way I want it to, that it just styles properly. Let's have a look at this. And there we go. So again, nothing has changed from a functional perspective. We just styled it a bit differently here, and everything is still working the way it should. Okay, so now if I click this link, we're going to get an error because yes, there's nothing. And this is probably the error code everybody will come to hate eventually. Fail to resolve all viewports because it can mean a fair amount of things. Right now it means that we have a link that we're trying to put something in, and we're missing information here. So, but let's move on. We need to add the book details. So let's do that first because we don't have that. So I'll just do book details. And let's do this all the way again with book details HTML and the CSS as well. Book details. There we go. And for let's start with this one, export class book details. So for this one, we're going to use. Just going to go to my notes here to make sure that I'm doing this right. We're of course going to have the book that we're passing in, public book, which is subtype book, of course. But we're not going to pass the book in itself. We could, which is new, but we're not going to. But we're going to pass in the ID, like you saw. So that means that we need to be able to fetch it from the service, book service, which is the type book service. There. And what we're doing is that we're going to fetch this in enter. Just like we did with the other one, enter is now called and interestingly, we're going to get back to this. I'm just doing log parameters. Let's just do that for now, and we can take a look at it. Okay, so this won't compile because we need... See, I got the book service, but I didn't get the book. That's almost Visual Studio Code, almost. Okay, so there. And of course we need to show something. That helps. So we're just... You know what? We're just going to take... Yeah, let's just take this one. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just take this one. Or rather, let's take this one. And add that, and that we don't need. And okay, that works. Enlarge, maybe 3 perhaps, and some text just to see that this is a to show us that this isn't the same. But I mean, we're not actually doing something that we're going to use here, but here and bam, let's get rid of those. And authors. That's a hard word. Okay. So we got that. Do we need to do anything CSS style wise? No, that'll probably be fine. Okay. So we got book details and we got book details, view, model, and view. Okay, so now we're in the book list. We got the book details. Let's just save. But we're still, even though we're going to it, we still need to import it as well, so that we can show it. Import from, and the import is exactly the same thing as require in version 1. It's just a different name for it. There you go. And should this now work? Let's see. It shouldn't do anything right now, but maybe if we do this and that. Okay. So this should give us an error. Failed to resolve all viewports. Yes. Okay. So what's going on here? Why isn't it working? Because we've imported it the way we should. And it's defined, so we're assuming that it's properly set up, but we're still not showing up. Why? Because we haven't told the router where to show it, where to display it, and this is related to. Let's see if this is the and this is related to viewport scope. A link, a go-to instruction, an anchor tag, whatever. Governs the viewport within the same component or lower, the component or child component, until there is another viewport. So basically what's happening is here, just like this, welcome and books and about are going to this viewport. We need, in order for this to work, we need to have a viewport this one. We need a viewport for it to address. This is looking, the go to here is looking for a viewport in this component, or in an include child component, but there isn't one. So what we could do if we add a component here. So where are we adding that? Let's add that. A viewport. I mean a viewport. Well, let's not do that. I changed my mind. Can we make this look? Can we have this access the viewport one step up, one scope level up? Yes, we can. Simply by telling it, go one step up, viewport scope wise, routing hierarchy, whatever, and then get the viewport that you can find. So I'm just stepping out one step up in the hierarchy here, component hierarchy, and this should now, yes. So now we got something else, right? So now it did find the book details. But now we're trying to, sorry, it did find the viewport to load, but it didn't find book details. This component here. Why didn't find that one? Well, because if I did what we're now doing, remember when we first started out, we did welcome like that. So what we're now trying to do is book details, right? That's the same thing. So but in order for this to work, this component needs to know about book details, and it doesn't. It doesn't matter if the instruction came from one step lower. This is where we're trying to show it. So we also need to import this one. In fact, we need to have this one here. Because this is the viewport that needs to understand what we're trying to show, even though the actual navigation comes from here. So if I'm doing this, just as it would if it was a custom element. So let's see if this now works better. And bam, there we go. So books, let's do, and as you can see, I've going back. We do get, these are the parameters that we typed out. Yeah, so we're getting the ID here in something called 0, which is basically the first, since this is the book details we're sending in, this is the first parameter. So we get an object here that has a number-based index. If I want to, let's say, and this means that in code, I could now do this book service. Yes, book service, get book parameters 0. That's the name of it. And that should have worked. This book service get book, or maybe not. Let's see, that's 2. What are these? Are they numbers? Let's look at that. No. Let's look at the book service. Probably get some stupid typos somewhere. There are strings. Could it be that they're actually being turned into something else? Nope. Book details. Book service, get book, parameter 0. Okay, let's debug. So that's a 2. Book details, that's the way it should be. This book service, get book. Let's just see what happens here. Oh. Well, maybe not oh. Let's just type out parameters. Do I need to do, that should be 2. That's 2, okay. So let's, book ID equals ID. Why isn't this? Oh, God, I'm so stupid. So because, yeah, getting stuff, and you saw this all along, of course, sorry for that. This book, I need to address it. I need to assign it as well, otherwise it doesn't do anything. Stupid, silly. One of those days. Should have done this on a different day, but there we are. Let's just, there you go. Could we get rid of that? Thank you. So now I can get the books. Let's do the color magic. Yay, excellent. And the name of the bin, perhaps. Okay, cool. So and you can see that we're actually getting the number up here. This is a bit clunky, this 0. So I would like to instead of doing 0 here, instead of doing 0, I would like to do parameters ID. That's what I would prefer. So there are, how can we get that? Well, we can actually get parameters into it by doing ID. That's one way. Now it's addressing this. So if I it's actually setting this here. So if I could go into, I need to close some stuff. That's not that. I don't need that one. And I don't need, oh, I could use that one. Folks. Let's close that one. That one. There you go. I could do ID equals now book details ID1, and there you go. We get ID in. And that just works, right? But I could also, if I remove this and go into book details, I can define what parameters this method expects by doing a public static parameters. And it's a set of string, so parameter names equals ID. There we go. And now this, let's go back to books. We can see at the bottom here that it's actually calling ID. But now it knows how to map that first parameter that we get in, that it's mapped towards ID here. So, and I could also, if I wanted to, I could do name, or I could do language. And it will be, oh, I was stupid. There you go. It's clever enough to know that these two are different. And it's actually clever enough to know that if I switch these around, there we go. It understands that the languages are different and ID is the... Okay, so details. Too much details. There you go. Okay. So this is kind of nice. And again, no configuration, it basically just works. So let's remove this one because we don't need it anymore. Let's go back to what I changed my mind about. Namely, let's add, books. Let's add a viewport here. There we go. And instead of setting it one level up, let's see if we can load it in this viewport. Oh, I'm doing back and forward here, back and forward. And you can see that it's coming. And it's automatically, since we now have a viewport, we added a nested viewport here. We have first viewport in here where we load books, and books in turn dynamically adds another viewport, which is a sibling to the list. This is the result. So main viewport entire, and which includes the list, the books in the list, and then we have this, and therefore we have books / book details and the ID. Right. So I can now let's go into book details and add a close button. What's that? Is that a spam, perhaps? Could be. X. Class. Close. Sorry. There it is. Book details. And we want close to float. Because we can. Let's add a border to it. Just black. Some padding. This again, styling. Sorry, this doesn't have to be. Let's see it, and let's see how that looks. Say both of them. There we go. We have an X. No, this is of course stupid me. Okay, so now we added it, and let's turn it into link. So what we want now is we want this link to close this viewport, to clear it basically. So there we go. And can we do that easily? Yes, we can. We have to do one more thing though, which I haven't done, and that is in the books. So I haven't done anything with a viewport yet, but there are several attributes that you can set in this one. And one of them that you don't have to set, but which is recommended, is that you give it a name. It can be anything. A viewport needs to have a unique name within its viewport scope. The name defaults to default. So if there's only one viewport within the viewport scope, then you don't have to give it a name. I don't need to give it a name now either, except for the fact that I'm going to use a bit of a special syntax for which it needs a name. And since I've named that one, I'm also going to name this one. Don't have to, but you should name your viewports. There you go. So now I've done that. I want, and here's a different go-to. So I want to do something in that viewport, the viewport named book details. So I can specify what viewport. We haven't had to do that, but I can specify what viewport I want a component to be loaded or some action to be taken by saying @ and then the name of the viewport. So if I do book details, this would now set. So I could do about book details, and that would load the about component in the book details viewport. I don't want to do that, but what I want to do is clear it, to empty it. And if I just add a minus, that's what will happen. So if I do this, and then I got an error. Why did I get an error? Oh, let's do this first. Let's see. So we don't get any. And we have this dreaded error again, and that is because of book details. Right. Because now I'm trying. Again, I'm now trying to clear a viewport called book details within this scope, here or downwards. And there isn't one. It's actually one step up, right, in books. So I need to move further up in the hierarchy. And bam, gone. Open. And close. And close. Up. So if I do this, let's just do that. See if that makes sense. Okay, so now if I've got this one open and I move to some other page, welcome, that's removed. And that's what I want in this case. But because these are tightly coupled, right? And that's a child viewport. But what I could maybe possibly, if my use case was differently, I might want to have, and we're going to get an error, which is why I'm doing this, so that you can see the error when it arrives. I might want to do this. I could, instead of having the viewport here within the book list, I could take it one step up and place it as a sibling to the main viewport. Of course, this means that we already added book details there, so that's fine because we did that. So now we need to get back into books and add it into book details. Now we're going to get an error again. And it's the lovely one. Let's do it from the top. That works. And welcome doesn't work either. So now none of them works. Why? Because now here we've got instructions to load a component, but we got two viewports. So the route doesn't know which viewport to load this in. So what we could do is we could do @main. And that will take care of main. Yeah? If I do about, that still gives us the error because it doesn't know where to go with it. So we could specify, and that would be then @main on about, and it would be @book details there. But there's a different way to do it. And since I know that there's a property attribute on the AU viewport that's called used by. And here you can list the components that are the viewport uses. And when I mention it in used by, this component is always loaded in here, and there could be more than one. So I could just list welcome, whatever. Those components are always loaded in here, in the viewport they're used by, and only those components are loaded in there. So if you have a used by, you're saying these ones always go here, and these are the only ones that go in here. So by adding used by here on book details, that also means that none of these can go into this viewport, which means that main is the only one, the only available one. Welcome works, about works, and books work. Yeah, and if I click the book, we now get this, and I can close it. Oh, I could close it. That was exciting. No, that might make sense. Okay, so let's now take a look at this one. So here's we did move that one up. So these are now siblings, and that means that if I navigate around here, this viewport sticks around. So from this list, I'm adding something that's one level up. And of course I can, it's gone until I close it. So imagine if this was a support chat window or properties or something that you wanted to have stick around a bit. You easily can. And we still haven't really made any code. We've set some attributes on the viewport and links. So yeah, I think that's the routing the new routing in a nutshell, basically. Just make sure you import your stuff, but you need to do that anyway. And it's possible to import. You don't need to do it in the view. If you specify, let's take if you specify this, we'll have, by the time alpha gets out, there will be a decorator that sets dependencies. Where I could, sorry, that wasn't my intention. And where I could list, this is my app, so I could do books. And then I'd have to do import dependencies from Aurelia. And then import books from books. This is exactly the same thing as my app import this one. These are the same. In fact, the conventions converts this into this. These. So that's what we could do, but we're not doing that now, but we could. Oh, we're not using that one, so let's remove it. Let's see if we broke something. If everything's working as it should. Yeah, okay. So we import what we need, not routing specific, but Aurelia specific. We make sure we have it available, and it could be registered components. Let's take a look at that as well. Then, since I said it, I could, and this works now. Import books from books, and I could do books, and these are now globally registered. Books is now globally registered and available everywhere in all components. I wouldn't need the import here or anywhere else where I'm using that one. So that's also an option. Don't do it like this though. Do and have a specific export file in your source, or your plugin or whatever, your module that exports all the relevant classes, and then do an import star from that index file, export file. That's the best way to do that, so that you're not listing them specifically here. So in order to get it work, make sure it knows about the custom element, the component, and then just add a goto and throw in a viewport where it's going to. Name it, because good practice, yeah. And if you have more than one within the same viewport scope, then list yours by. Or manually name them at book details. That shouldn't go there though, but still. Yeah, okay. I think that's it. I'm going to click around a bit. Okay, so that's it for today, for this time. Yeah, I'll be leaving some links in the description, and let me know if you have any questions. Until next time, bye-bye.